The Uniform Regulation of Virtual Currency Businesses Act. Virtual currency has grown up very rapidly. It is an intangible, and therefore most of our laws, which are structured for either bank credit or money, do not apply very well. And the industry came to us and said, we would like to have a bill that provides sensible regulation so that it gives confidence and stability to our industry.
We know banks are safe because we did something about it. Now we want to do the same thing for this growing industry in virtual currency. We actually don't have a national regulator for these non-bank kinds of companies. That someone could wake up tomorrow and find that what they thought was their savings has been lost because either someone's a fraudster or just because it wasn't managed properly. That's what we want to prevent.
If people benefit from an alternative currency, they ought to be able to go there and not feel like they're walking in a minefield. That's where we come in. We're going to clear out the mines and let people experiment and see how many ways their lives will be benefited by a new approach to currency.
You want anyone from a grandma to a student to a business person that transacts with this value to make sure that they have that held safely. You don't want to lose it, and you don't want someone to steal it.
Our particular act does not attempt to regulate virtual currency itself. Essentially, our act focuses on the use of virtual currency as a medium of exchange. In other words, if I want to buy a cup of coffee and I have virtual currency, and Starbucks is willing to take virtual currency, then I need a process where I can transfer that value to Starbucks. And that's what our act essentially provides the mechanism to do.
The Virtual Currency Act says that if you're a company that issues or holds Bitcoin or other kinds of virtual currency for consumers, that you're going to actually have to manage those funds or that virtual currency in a certain responsible way. You have to have a license, right, to do that, meaning that someone's looking behind you. The real challenge is we also want to encourage innovation, right? So you don't want regulation to drive out new kinds of business models like virtual currency. So we had to draft an act that provided what's called an on-ramp for these companies, because they often are startups, right, that are using venture funds and really want to do things differently. So how do you make sure that regulation isn't overly burdensome?
Regulation with a heavy hand prevents initiative. And that is not a good thing for the progress of the economy in the United States.
We're protecting people and we're protecting the industry as well, right? We want those who are acting in a responsible way and in an innovative way to also be able to flourish, right? So we think this act does both. And if we don't act quickly, right, we'll either have disasters or the industry might flounder. So how can we create win-win?
This industry is growing. If you look at, for example, the Wall Street Journal, almost every day there is a story about virtual currency. And the end result of the matter is that a state that enacts a law that is balanced and which will protect its citizens, but it also will keep the bad actors from causing a problem, is going to bring business of a very good quality to that particular state.
We really worked with industry, with consumers, with stakeholders to get the balance right. So this wasn't just us dreaming it up. And the question is, how do we craft a law that protects all of their interests? We think we've done it with this act.